Good morning, beach lovers. My name is Jen Lindquist. I'm so happy to have you here with me today in my studio. I wanted to share with you this painting. It took me about 10 hours to complete. The name is Resting in the Dunes. This is one in my Surfer Girl series that I've done over the past 2 years. I'm super excited to finally have this one completed. I did want to let you know that I was painting live, so some of the video in this is just a little bit different. If you can bear with me, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. I built this canvas by hand, and it's the first time that I ever built a canvas. And I was super excited about it. I recorded the entire process, and I've got a ton of clips, and I'm hoping to be able to get a video together on that eventually. But it was difficult, and it was a lot more work than I expected. Of course, we were learning how to use the tools at the same time, so that always makes things harder and take longer than they normally would. But I have to say this, after building a canvas and going through that process, I'm okay with purchasing canvases that are pre-built and pre-gessoed. It took a lot of work and time is money. So if I can purchase canvases for you know, I know it costs a little bit, but it is a lot of work. So I'm now okay with buying a little bit more expensive canvas so that I don't have to build it myself. It was fun. It was a nice little project, but I don't think I'm going to do that again. So this painting was inspired by a young girl that I saw on the beach several years ago. And so I had been out surfing that day. It was a pretty rough day on the water. I had a really great time. And I was just sitting on the beach, relaxing, having a snack, drinking my water. And coming up out of the water comes this young girl. She wasn't in a bikini like this girl. She had on a rash guard and some shorts. She comes up, she's only probably, 10 feet from me, puts her board down, lays down, and collapses on her board. She was so tired. And it's funny because I completely related to that feeling. I know what it's like to just go out there, especially if the current is strong, and it feels like you're always going backwards. And she seemed like she was kind of new, but man, she definitely reminded me of when I first started going out by myself, and how hard I tried. And if I could have stayed out there all day, I would have done it. But eventually your arms just kind of turn to jello and you just can't do it anymore. But that image of her stuck with me for years. And I mean, that must have happened 10 years ago. But I decided when I started my Surfer Girl series that I wanted to make that girl a part of the series and bring that to life. So that's what this time-lapse painting is all about. It's about bringing that moment to life. I'm hoping that women who surf can relate to this feeling. It's this feeling of exhaustion. It's a feeling of, I just need to regroup and relax and enjoy the sun for a few minutes before I go back out. That's exactly what it's all about. And I had some time to consider the composition of this painting. Now, I took some of the reference photos myself, or all of the reference photos myself, and I used those. I printed them all out and put them up in my studio so that I could see them as I was painting. And I drew it out to get the composition, because what I really wanted was for the dunes to flow in a way, and the grasses and everything to flow in a way that no matter what you're looking at, eventually it brings your eye back around the canvas to the girl. I mean, I know she's pretty. I know she is the center of attention. That's, I think, pretty obvious. But I also want you to look at the other things and then come back to her, right? So, and that's the whole point of the composition, is to bring it around. I think I did a pretty good job of that, and I'm glad that I took the time to think it out ahead of time. And then of course I reworked it as I was putting it on canvas, and I like the way that it turned out. So the reference photos, I took pictures of the dunes when I was at Ponce Inlet with my family last year. And you know, I take pictures at the beach all the time, and I never know if I'm going to use them. I don't know what I'm going to use them for. But if I see something interesting, I take photos, and I highly recommend that if you're an artist, that you pull your camera or your phone out when you go someplace and take photos, and maybe not just of your friends, maybe like this one, I didn't take a picture of the water. It wasn't a lifeguard stand. It was actually, I believe it was a boat on the beach with the dunes, and I thought I would paint the boat, but what I ended up doing was using the dunes in the photograph for this picture. I always like to keep reference photos around so I have stuff to go through, especially if I'm not inspired. The model in this picture, I'm not going to say her name, but I did use a friend's granddaughter as the model for this painting, and I have brought her in and I've shown her the painting. She was wearing, shorts and a tank top, so fortunately when you paint you can, adjust it, because the idea is to have her as the figure standing in for the person I want to paint. It's not always to paint that person exactly as they are. Usually I use my daughters, but in this case, since she was here, we took a ton of pictures, and this is one I happened to get from several different angles because I knew I wanted to get this painting done. She did a wonderful job. I know she felt a little bit awkward, but I really appreciated her doing this for me, and it's just so nice to have people that are willing to pose and be model stand-ins for some of these paintings. Some of the film for this video was taken during my live streaming on Twitch. And so that's why some of the angles are a little bit different, and maybe the video's not as clear on some of these. But I wanted to make sure I was getting it in a way that you could, see everything. And I didn't want you to miss, because my big head kept getting in the way. I didn't want to block your view, so I hope you can forgive that a little bit. I also did some TikTok videos at the beginning. When I started painting the dunes, I was actually at an art show, but my video editing software was not able to use the TikTok videos. It kept bombing out, so I just kept those out and moved on with the rest. So this beautiful girl reminds me of a time when I used to go surfing alone in New Smyrna. And I was, I've done it for years. I learned how to surf by going with other people, but eventually I had to go when it was convenient for me. And I would put my daughter in mom's day out, and I would go to the beach with my stepmom. And then later, as she got older, in school, I would take a day or two during the week and go surfing, and come back and pick her up from school. And so that was really a nice way for me to have some downtime for myself. When I surf alone, just in case my mom is listening, I always surf in front of a lifeguard or around other surfers. I really don't go surfing by myself anymore. Anytime I suggest going by myself, my husband always wants to come along, which is great. I feel bad that he just sits there on the back of the truck, but he's happy sitting there. So I try to do more stuff with him instead of going surfing all the time. That way, there's a little give and take there. Let's see. So I'm gonna give you a little bit about my old surfing days when I went a little bit more often. I would create kind of a routine. Get up in the morning. I would turn music on in my car and listen to music while I put the racks on my car. And I had these soft racks that would connect inside the car, and then you can close the doors, you can put the surfboards on. And I mean, I never woke up early, but I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go surfing. And so I would put my racks on my car and then I would head out to the beach. So I would either stop for a bagel, or as I got a little bit older and Panera came to town, I would stop for a Panera sandwich. And then I would drive and I would listen to some hard rock music to kind of pump me up and get me excited about doing something that was so active. When I got to the beach, I didn't, when I first started, go down to the inlet. So here's what I would normally do. I would go to the boardwalk and then check the waves. If the waves were big enough, I would stay at the boardwalk and surf. If they were small, then I would drive towards the inlet, and then there's a couple of bumps. There's always waves at the inlet, and so most of the people would be the furthest north point on a really nice break. I was not that good of a surfer. I did not want to get trampled by them, so I was just a little bit further south of them, but I had a nice little break that I would ride, and that made me very happy because it made for a really fun day for me at the beach. So after I was out for, a couple of hours, I'd come in, get some water, get a snack, and then I'd go back out at least for another hour, maybe 2, till I was exhausted, and then I would head home. Now there was even a little bit of time when I made a friend. It was a guy, his name I think was Mike, I don't remember, but he would go out there and surf with me. We would meet up. He was from Orlando, and what was nice about that was I went by myself a lot, but if the waves were big, like really big, I get nervous. I would get really nervous about being out there, and just having someone who knows you're there in case something happens, it made me feel very comfortable. We lost touch, but it was really nice to have that, especially during hurricane season when the waves were really big. I don't go out during big waves anymore, so I don't need that, and I don't go out by myself anymore. I go out with family. I have a lot of family that surfs, and we have a really great time when we go out together. Let's see. So on my way back in, I would either stop for lunch or I would stop and grab some ice cream at, oh no, I can't remember the name of it, but there was an ice cream stand on our way out of town. And eventually my daughter Taylor or Victoria, one or both, would come out with me to the beach, and they'd hang out at the beach with me. Sometimes they'd even try to surf. Vicky usually didn't surf, but Taylor, as she got a little bit older, we got her some surfboards, and she would try to learn how to surf with me. Yeah, she would spend some time, I'd push her into the waves. She did pretty good. She actually got to the point where she was going out with some of her friends on her own, which was really nice for her. And you know what? When she was in high school, it was just so nice to have a day or two when she would come out with me, go through my routine. We'd stop for breakfast, we'd eat, and then we'd head out to the beach. We'd go surfing. Whether it was good or not, really didn't matter because we had such a great time. We'd come in, we'd maybe get some ice cream, come home. I would probably take a nap, but definitely at the very least would veg out. And then by the time she was like a junior or senior in high school, I had started painting on canvas. I was making some paintings for my house. So I would come home and paint. And, once I relaxed, I took a nap, I would paint for a few hours, either out on the porch outside or inside the house if it was too hot to paint outside. And that was really, really nice. So those made for really perfect surf days. I'll show you the completed painting in just a second. In the meantime, go ahead and subscribe if you want to watch more videos. Hit the like button ring the bell if you want notifications as soon as I post. Thanks for hanging out with me, and hopefully I'll see you at the beach.